The emergency call didn't come from a witness. It came from a road crew. Just after sunrise, workers repairing a quiet country highway noticed what looked like dried blood leading from the shoulder of the road into a dense patch of woods. At first, they assumed it had come from a deer struck by a passing vehicle. But the trail didn't look right. There were no animal tracks, no drag marks, just dark, dry droplets that disappeared beneath the trees. The workers called the sheriff's office. Deputies followed the trail nearly 200 yards before it ended abruptly in a small clearing. There, they found the body of a 30-year-old man who had been reported missing 4 days earlier. His wallet was still in his pocket. His watch remained on his wrist. Nothing had been stolen. Investigators searched the clearing for hours. There were signs of a struggle, but very little blood where the body had been found. The medical examiner later concluded he had been killed somewhere else and moved after death. The blood trail had been created afterward, almost as if someone wanted the body to be discovered. The case drew statewide attention. Then, 6 months later, it happened again. Another trail, another body, this time, a woman who had disappeared after leaving a late-night shift at a hospital. Again, blood droplets began beside an empty road and stretched into the woods. Again, the trail ended at a body. Again, forensic evidence showed she had not been killed there. Detectives realized they weren't following the killer's escape route. They were following a path the killer had deliberately created. The investigation expanded across 3 counties. Crime scene analysts compared every detail. The spacing between the blood droplets was remarkably consistent. Too consistent. It didn't match someone who was injured while walking. It looked intentional, as if someone had stopped every few feet to leave another drop before continuing. Then came the third victim, a local carpenter. His body was discovered beneath an abandoned railroad bridge after a hunter noticed another narrow trail of dried blood leading into the trees. This time, detectives widened the search. Hidden beneath leaves nearly 50 yards away, they found traces of bleach on the ground. Whoever committed the murders had tried to destroy the original crime scene. The blood trail hadn't been a mistake. It had been a distraction. Investigators had spent days processing locations that had nothing to do with the murders while the real scenes remained undiscovered. The realization changed everything. Every previous location was searched again. Hidden clearings, abandoned pull-offs, old logging roads. Several contained tiny traces of blood that matched different victims, but years of weather had erased nearly everything else. The evidence wasn't enough to identify a suspect. Witnesses began coming forward. A truck driver remembered seeing a dark-colored SUV parked along one of the rural roads shortly before dawn. A cyclist recalled passing a man hosing down the back of a vehicle at a self-service car wash before sunrise. Neither witness could provide a license plate. Neither could identify the driver. Months turned into years. No arrests were made. Then a 4th trail appeared. This one was different. It ended at an empty clearing. No body, just blood. Laboratory testing confirmed it belonged to a man who had disappeared only 2 days earlier. Search teams flooded the surrounding forest. For 5 days they searched without success. On the 6th morning, volunteers discovered his body nearly 3 miles away in an area that had already been searched twice. Investigators could never explain how it had been missed, or whether it had been moved after the search began. The murders eventually stopped. No more blood trails appeared. No more bodies were found. The case remains unsolved. Today, the evidence is stored in dozens of boxes inside the sheriff's evidence room. Photographs, maps, forensic reports, and one long aerial image of the forest. On it, investigators marked each blood trail in red. When viewed individually, they seem random. But when all 4 are placed on the same map, they form a rough circle around one small patch of woodland. Search teams have excavated that area 3 separate times. They've never found anything, yet every detective who has worked the case believes the answer is still there, waiting beneath the trees, somewhere just beyond where the blood trails end.